Hey everybody, this is the Post Movie Podcast. I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
And in this week's episode, we're recording at Trident Booksellers in downtown Boston, as opposed to Panera, where we've been for the past couple of weeks. So we thought we'd change things up. And on this week's episode, we're going to talk about Ron Howard's The Dilemma, starring Vince Vaughn, The Green Hornet from director Michel Gondry, and then we're also going to talk about the film that's opening this week at the Brattle, Enter the Void, the Gaspar Noé film. And I'm going to have a few things to say about Season of the Witch, and then we're going to do our picks of the week. So I guess
that's a show.
That's an intro.
A show.
That's an intro to the show. And then intermittently we'll be drinking coffee.
Yeah.
So I'm going to kick in with the coffee.
So are we going to start with the dilemma?
Yeah, let's get it out of the way.
It's kind of like a Band-Aid. Pull it off first.
Like our
won't hurt as much.
Dilemma. Oh my.
Was this shitty or what?
I want to say, but I'd be wrong to say that this is Ron Howard slumming, because it's not that bad.
Oh yeah, it is. Come on.
All right, let me handle the summary on this.
Yeah, you do that.
Vince Vaughn plays an engineer. Vince Vaughn and Kevin James are longtime buddies, and they play. I guess, I don't know, they design car engines, so that's an engineer, right?
Yeah, instead of like a train engineer, they're mechanical engineers.
Mechanical engineers, and they have a ingenious idea that they're trying to sell to, I forget which company, Ford, Chrysler, doesn't matter, about taking the best hot rod, from the 60s, muscle cars, and putting electric engines into these muscle cars. So anyway, they've got a certain amount of time from which to create this engine that basically, rumbles with all the
it
audio.
Sounds like a muscle car. It gives you the visceral feel of a muscle car. We're never told whether it will actually drive like a muscle car, but it'll sound like one.
Right, but
with an electric engine. And you know why they're doing this? You know why? Because electric cars are gay.
Oh, right. There was a big controversy about that element of the trailer. But he has this unfortunate situation where they have to, fortunate in that, they're going to make a fair amount of money if they can get this engine made, I don't know, in 3-4 weeks, a month, something like that. But in the process, working closely with Kevin James, he sees Winona Ryder, who plays Kevin James's wife, cheating on him. So the movie just goes into this off on all these tangents about how he's supposed to reveal this information to Kevin James's character, and it does become absolutely absurd. I think that this was actually better as a drama than it was as a comedy, because there were some moments that were kind of pretty good dramatic-wise, but comedy-wise, not good. Plus, I must say, we had one of the most miserable press screening experiences watching this movie due to the inept technical situation over at Boston Common. We basically saw this movie with, I think, the first half hour of it with the music and all the actors sounding like they were on the telephone.
Yeah, the music was loud. You could hear Kiss singing Detroit Rock City loudly, but then Vince Vaughn would say something, and it was like he was underwater on the telephone.
It was really bad.
So they set up another screening. We had to wait around for like a half an hour.
Yeah, but they actually covered it really well. They, the publicists, they actually had some of the film critics. They set up the movie on another screen in the theater, and some of the film critics
left. They went from digital to actual film for us. So shout out to Emma. She really stepped up and got it done.
Yeah, it worked. So we did actually see the entire film as it was, I suppose, intended to be seen.
Right.
With sound.
But, you'd mentioned that you thought the drama worked better than the comedy. I don't think the comedy worked at all, but I also think there were like two different movies here. If he had given me a movie about two guys who fighting Detroit to build this new electric engine and make it cool, okay, that's kind of interesting. If you give me a story about a guy who catches his best friend's wife cheating, and he's struggling with how to tell him, okay, that's all right, that's a little interesting. Jamming these two together is the worst fit of all, because it has to bounce back between story to story. There's no real smooth transitions from Howard. It's just kind of an abrupt switch, like, oh, time to go.
I just don't know what this movie is.
Yeah.
You know, I don't. My preconception going in was that this is Ron Howard getting back to maybe lighthearted comedies, which is where he came from.
Yeah.
You know, with Grand Theft Auto and Used Cars and Splash and More Coffee.
What was that one he did with Michael Keaton? Thank you. That took place in a Detroit factory.
It was Used Cars, right?
No.
Oh, no, Used Cars was the...
That was Ken Russell. It was a different movie altogether. It was a good movie, but...
Gung Ho.
Gung Ho.
Right, I'm sorry. Used Cars, I think, was Robert Zemeckis.
Yes.
Sorry about that.
Don't worry, Gung Ho wasn't that good. But it was, again that, it's just, if he concentrated on giving us a drama or concentrated on a comedy, maybe it would have worked better. But the two just don't, any drama that was built got shot down because they're trying to be funny. Vince Vaughn doing his typical motor mouth stuff. Kevin James doesn't do much at all. The only person I liked in was Jennifer Connelly because she's been, the last few movies she's done, she's been the dramatic, the over-dramatic heroine. She spent most of the movies crying. But this one, she was lighthearted, she was funny, she was sexy as hell. She didn't have any chemistry with Vince Vaughn, but that didn't matter for this.
The movie, it suffers in that it really isn't that funny. It's too long. The coda after the resolution of this film is insufferable.
Yeah.
And it's also, this is a bromance. This is really about the relationship between Vince Vaughn and Kevin James's characters.
Yeah. And
them getting together. And they actually, in a sporting environment, consummate. As best as guys can do in a bromance.
In a PG-rated bromance.
That's basically what this was. It's this, like, the romantic comedy has splintered or morphed into this relationship thing between men, stuff.
It's like one step away from
Paul
Philip
Rudd could
Morris.
very well have been in this movie. Jason Segel could have buried it. It could have been.
And it would have been funnier. I mean, it's just, I don't think that. I think two things. I don't think it gives Kevin James enough to do, and it didn't put a leash on Vince Vaughn, because a lot of Vince Vaughn does is just stand there and be a motor mouth.
Well, what this movie does do is give us kind of a good baddie in Winona Ryder. I think she's actually well cast.
Yeah.
And coming off of the last film I think we saw her in was
Black Swan.
Black Swan, where she was quite delightfly evil in that one, and very disconcerting. And then this one is sort of a similar vein here. I mean, she's like
a complex character, though.
Cracked lady on a mission.
But she's the only one who has any kind of depth to her, because she's not trying to hide it. She does get caught cheating, but her explanations for it and her fighting against Vaughn to stay out of it gave the movie some heft that I didn't get from anything else.
So that was, for at least my impression of this film, is that that's where the liveliness came from, the confrontations between Vince Vaughn and Winona Ryder. But other than that, this is, in the long run, this is a forgettable, very, very minor entry on the resume of Ron Howard.
Yeah, I won't forget it because of stuff like Queen Latifah talking about her Ladywood.
Oh, you know what?
I don't need to hear Queen Latifah talking about her Ladywood. I don't need Channing Tatum acting like a sensitive punk rock drug addict. It just doesn't. None of those things work.
But they're so self-conscious of the fact that Queen Latifah's talking like that they run the joke into the ground at the end of the movie. So it's just one. I can only guess as to why Ron Howard made this movie. Maybe it was packaged for him, and it was just an easy thing to do. Coming off of Angels and Demons, I've never. I don't know. I've never really considered him a great director. To me, he's always like almost, but not quite. I mean, he's had some really fine films, but
he's versatile.
He just doesn't quite do it for me.
Right.
There's something a little lacking. Like there was something a little. What's the word I'm looking for? Just soupy, melancholy. About. They're not tight.
No.
His films are not tight. And they move languidly in certain spots, and this is a film that really could have had a whole chunk of it cut out.
Yeah.
And it would have been a better experience. So, can't recommend it.
I don't think we can talk about it much more.
No, no, I can't.
Not our repeating ourselves or just getting angry that we actually saw it 1.5 times.
Yeah. And didn't laugh for the first 45 minutes.
And you know, here's the thing: when they switch the screenings, right? So we're in a packed house with bad sound. They don't want the critics obviously to review something with that kind of sound, so they put us in our own screening, and there's only like 6 critics in there now. So any comedy snowball effect is lost because it's just 6 critics who are already grumpy, sitting there, you know, watching this movie flash before their eyes for the second time.
You know, and I'm amazed that they actually could not fix the sound on that first screening, and everybody had to sit there and watch it with basically them, you know, sounding like they're talking through telephones. The last point I want to make about this is that I have been again reminded of the incredible importance of the sound mix in a film. It is just so, it's 50% of the film-going experience.
Okay.
It's just really, it's that important. That important.
All right.
Moving on.
We'll move on to a screening where the sound and the picture seem to work pretty well.
Green Hornet?
In 3D. In 3D, yes. The Green Hornet.
Well, John, what did you think?
You know, in some ways it was better than I expected. I didn't really have high expectations because I'm not a big fan of the character. You know, I remember the TV show, but more because Bruce Lee was on it.
Right,
You know,
it's really like an afterthought. The
yeah,
TV show was...
Who played the Green Hornet in the TV show?
Van...
Yeah, Van Diesel?
God.
Van Heflin?
No. Van Williams.
Van Williams. And he went on to do...
I don't know.
Yeah. So it's kind of an afterthought. It only played for 1 season. And I remember listening to the radio show. I read the comics. They just released all the new comics a while ago, so I was reading them for a while. Not a great hero, but he's okay. So you get Seth. So the whole story is that Seth Rogen plays a rich, spoiled party boy, son of a newspaper pulp editor, very successful, extremely rich.
Played by Edward James Olmos.
No.
Wasn't it?
His father,
No. I'm sorry. He's the current editor. His father is...
that guy.
Yeah, that guy.
So the father dies. He's allergic to bee stings. Gets stung by a bee. Dies. The rich party boy inherits the paper. He's got no business running a paper. He's willing to turn it over. He finds out his father had a houseboy named Cato. They get drunk one night, and...
But it's in very kind of... I like the way that he's actually introduced. Because they make the point of the importance of great-tasting lattes.
Yeah. So Cato, he and Cato one night in a drunken... they do a drunken prank, and in the middle of it, they end up rescuing a woman from a purse snatching, and that changes their life. They think suddenly the rich spoiled party boy thinks he can do something good by pretending to be a bad guy who's actually a good guy and fighting crime.
Yeah, but they also discover, I don't know if Cato, maybe this isn't really clear in the film, but Cato seems to have this extrasensory ability, like a fly's ability, to be able to perceive numerous things in one situation at one time,
right.
And he's in the middle of a fight, and go through the like 3D slow-mo fighting sequence thing.
It reminded me of
zooming in on
when
stuff.
Robert Downey Jr. fought in Sherlock Holmes, and he said, first I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, then I'm going to do this, and I'm going to do that, and then when he did it, it was like, oh yeah, he did it. That's how we thought ahead. Cato, because it's Michael Gondry directing, it's a visual thing where he, through some camera trickery, we get to see all the things he's spotted out of a situation that he'll attack first to beat the crap out of the bad guys.
Well, the fact that Michel Gondry directed this, and the fact that it's a huge film, I really admiring his other films, Eternal Sunshine, and Be Kind, Rewind, Science of Sleep. I'm wondering how can given such a huge budget like this, and given the type of filmmaker he is, where he does sort of like this ingenious, do-it-yourself, paper and scissors type of filmmaking.
Right.
He's got all these toys now, and it's like trying to find his style in the midst of all this was kind of a challenge, because it seemed so not him, until some of these fight scenes started, or until it got closer to the end of the movie and there was some editing that seemed like, oh, this is like a Michel Gondry thing, but it was hard to see him in this movie doing it.
See, I thought there were some visually interesting ideas in the beginning, well, when they first stopped fighting. You know, the way they would do the slow motion with Kato, the thing you talked about pointing out. There's some ridiculous thing with like if he goes and slides across a car, it multiplies, you know, so maybe there's like 10 afterthoughts. Kind of like when you hold a mirror in front of a mirror and you see all those reflections, which I didn't think added anything, but, you know, it was more a distraction. But by the end, you know, when there's this overlong fight at the newspaper, ridiculous fight, I was like, this is so...
Well, it was basically a payoff.
You
set up the movie and that was essentially a action scene payoff. There's a couple things where they set up the confrontation. Things aren't all hunky dory between Kato and Britt Reed.
The fight between them. Is hilarious.
Yeah, it's long. It's over long, but I think it's purposely trying to make a point that the comedy is in the fact that the fight goes on too long.
Right, but I think by the time you get in a newspaper office and they're driving the car, half the car up the elevator.
This becomes a very action figure-like movie where the action basically everything around the characters is just there to be destroyed. And
it kind of goes against what I liked about the setup in the beginning is that Seth Rogen he's not a superhero. He's kind of an asshole.
I think that actually works against the film. Here's the thing. I laughed all the way through this thing. I thought it worked very well. It does what I think a successful movie of this type should do, and like Iron Man does, is that at its best, it's actually really funny. And The Green Hornet was very enjoyable in the fact that it was very funny. But my personal impression of who I bring some baggage. I digged the series. I loved the corgi car. I just didn't see Seth Rogen in it. But that's not to say that he's bad. It's just different.
Right.
But he actually does work very well in the role, but in a different way. And it takes us a while to acclimate ourselves to him, because he's really humbling. He's arrogant, but at the same time, he's so likable. How can anybody in this movie not like him?
Yeah.
But maybe it's more so about who he is. It's just
he comes with baggage.
Yeah, but he's an exceptionally likable character, and it doesn't make the Green Hornet look as menacing as he.
Right. Well,
my impression was, but the humor's there, and that really carries things along.
Yeah, because I don't think he works when it comes time to actually, throw down with the bad guys and go against them in
fighting. Well, he doesn't really.
Stuff.
I mean, he basically depends on Kato for that.
Right.
And Kato is basically the guy who does everything. Designs all the stuff, all the guns. He's Britt Reed, constantly amazed by everything that Kato does. I mean, it's like he is just bewildered by this guy's ability. So, he's kind of seeing. As we're seeing this movie through Britt Reed's eyes, we're amazed too. So Kato is like the special element. Oh, yeah. The person we identify with is, Seth Rogen, and his reactions it's very funny.
What did you think of the bad guy in this movie?
Christoph Waltz. I enjoyed him because he had that, we've seen before in many other films, the bad guy with a sense of humor, the bad guy with the idea that he knows his place in the universe. Mm-hmm. And in this case, I won't even begin to try to pronounce his name because they make a joke about it in the movie on a couple of occasions.
Yeah.
But he's aware of the fact that he's this old, that, he's getting, thank you. That he's being dissed by the other criminal elements in town, and they asked to do something big in order to consolidate power. And by the way, this can all be explained to you by Cameron Diaz, who has watched, her character has watched so many movies and read so many newspapers that she knows exactly how these criminal minds work. She's like the brains.
She's going to be the most expensive, plot device in a movie ever, because she just shows up to tell you these things to get things,
Oh, yeah.
She has to tell the, well, it's funny that she has to tell the Green Hornet what to do, but she also keeps the audience informed on all the missing pieces.
She moves the plot along. She's the double romantic interest for both Cato and Reed, and that's part of where the argument comes in, because there's this mix. But she's actually a very minor character.
Yeah.
But getting back to Christoph Waltz, he's very entertaining. He's very funny. He's not like this exceptionally mean bad guy. There's no really overpowering, dreadful, like, holy shit, I'm really scared this is going to be, it's not. It's actually a rather light movie.
Yeah.
All in all, it's funny. It's entertaining. It's got some cool Hollywood stuff. With all with the black beauty car. I just Chrysler Impala, man. I've always digged that car. I love the Corgi car. But it's not this huge thumping footprint of a movie that's going to blow you away.
And I knew it. I understand that part, but I just thought he was too weak to be any kind of bad guy. He was, he
needed to be more menacing.
Not more something. I just found him to be pale. Just no real character there. Okay, he's got a funny accent. No one can pronounce his name. He wears bad clothes and he's trying to be cool.
Well, self-consciously, he seemed to be worried about whether or not people really were
I didn't come
worried
across
about him. And they tried to play on that, whether or not you thought you should be afraid of him, because the other guys, they were not afraid of him. So obviously, he has to step it up by doing something exceptionally violent and showy. Like, you're not afraid of me? Well,
no.
Let me show you why you should be.
But, giving him a gun that shoots two different ways, and just, there was something missing for me. I just felt like, there's no threat here at all.
Well, I think the larger thing is that it just gives you this feel that Michel Gondry wasn't in control of this as an auteur, the kind of impression that we as film fans have of him. This is something where it's the producers of this movie that were dictating what you're seeing on the screen. And I suppose that he tried to do as best he could, but, operating within this machine is, Hollywood movie-making machine is...
Yeah. It wasn't bad.
No, it's not a bad movie. It's a fun movie.
I don't think it needed to be in 3D.
No, and that's another thing that's definitely a money grab. On Sony's part. So
I think the fact that it's released in the dead of winter like this, it's 3D, is just that they whatever they think they have, they want to get as much money as they can out of it. There's nothing really. I don't think the dilemma's going to challenge it at the box office too much.
No.
Plus,
but this will
the surcharge on the 3D is going to go, add to its coffers. I'm sure there'll be another one, but I don't think Gondry will be behind the camera.
No. It just doesn't seem like something he'd be really...
This is like Jon Favreau doing Iron Man, where it's a collaboration between star and director.
Weird. Because to me, this is like, having a director with a certain aesthetic for a lower budget film than directing this huge budget movie. That's just, maybe they tried to see what he could bring to it, and he did the best he could within this structure.
Yeah.
But what became Gondry-esque about this movie happens at the end of the movie and during the end credits, when you actually see some arty, styly stuff going on. But other than that, it's really
it's kind of
by the numbers kind of film.
That's just it. It was. And if this had come out in the middle of summer when there's movies like this or a dime a dozen, it would have been pushed aside. We wouldn't gain much attention to this at all.
But man, I would see this again, because I freaking love it when those machine guns come out of the hood of the Black Beauty, when the missiles with the and the tire knives and stuff like that. To me, that's just damn cool. And this movie has indulgent cool for cool shots. It is what it is. Lots of machine guns, lots of glass breaking, lots of things being indiscriminately destroyed.
Nothing wrong with that, but again, it's just not. There's
got to be a purpose, right?
No, it doesn't even have to be that. You know me, I like shit blowing up too.
I'm just throwing that out there.
But it's just that after I think it's
the reason you're paying to see this movie is partly for that kind of action. So it pays off with that.
right. But I think that they're kind of trying to set it in the real world, and then they give us that totally unreal scene at the newspaper office. Half a car.
Oh, when you're
that.
watching a movie being shot on a soundstage,
Right.
and how things
I think it's just
work.
And at that
like
point, we need to believe that Seth Rogen is an action hero, and he's not for me. He just isn't even at that point. It's like a 2 out of 5 kind of thing. If it was on, I wouldn't go out of my way to see it again.
It's actually a good comedy. It's a better comedy than The Dilemma.
It's funnier than The Dilemma, that's for sure. All right, let's leave the Green Hornet alone.
Yeah. Moving on to a movie I caught, but John wasn't able to catch, so I'm going to try to be brief about it.
Season of the Witch.
Season of the Witch. So very memorable.
Yeah.
I actually really enjoyed this film. I came from it from the perspective that it was just totally anachronistic, and that everybody was just doing it for the fun of it, and it looked like they were having a good time making this movie. It's just that it's so freaking strange when these characters apparently in some weird version of the Middle Ages start talking with a Brooklyn accent or hardcore American accent. There's just no basis for things that just go on in this movie.
Right.
But what I digged about it, where it turned around for me, was so they have to get this witch to a monastery in order to perform an exorcism on her in order to prevent the downfall of men.
Right.
Basically, at the beginning of the film, there's these witches that are tried for witchery. Some people don't believe in witchery, some people do. But anyway, you have to have, in order to really excise the demon, the witch, or whichever is wrong with this person, you have to say a certain quotes or something from this book. It's like Book of the Dead type of thing that these monks have. So you have to recite this passage in order to exorcise the witch, the demon. So it is known by the evil forces that this is a book that has to be done away with, and the evil forces are trying to get rid of the book. Ron Perlman and Nick Cage are entrusted with getting this girl who's been accused of witchery to this monastery, and they go through all the yada 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 to get there. But it actually became kind of cool for me when there's a plot twist, and since everybody's trashing this movie, I'm going to go ahead and already say what the plot twist is that everybody thinks she's a witch, but she's not. She's actually the demon. She has a demon inside her that has to be. So what one believes is going to be this ritual that's going to exorcise the demon won't work.
Right.
But so when they get to this monastery, it actually becomes this battle, with Ron Perlman, Nick Cage, and the demon, which to me I thought was pretty cool. And there were some jarring sequences.
Good effects?
Yes. That was okay. That's what I'm saying. I think it's okay.
Yeah.
It's not a great movie. Everybody's going to say it's a bad movie, but I had fun with it, and I digged the demon battle, which was kind of freaky, towards the end. But that's what it is. It was what it is. It's just it's definitely not. Don't see it in theaters. Wait for it. Check it out when it comes out on video.
Right.
It's cool. It has cool moments. Plus, I kind of related to the idea that they were anachronistic in, like why Nick Cage is doing this with an American accent and some of the other guys have American accents. Because I used to do, years ago in North Carolina, I was involved with the Society for Creative Anachronism, which is you do like these, you basically train as a knight would to, do sword play and stuff like that. And I can see where Nick Cage is seeing the fun in this by doing something like that. Anyway, moving on.
I would, I'll probably sneak into it sometime when we see like a 2:00 show.
It was amusing. Everybody's going to trash this movie.
It's okay.
Or everybody has.
Yeah,
but
right.
Yeah.
All right, now we got a special movie event that's coming to the Brattle starting today.
Enter the Void.
For 1 week.
Yes, the Gaspar Noé film, which I was telling John, okay, I'm just going to be totally upfront. I've only seen half of the film. You know, but I've seen enough of it to really just be like, I am just completely amazed. I'm dying to pick it back up and see it again.
Yeah.
I was just
Talk about a director who's an artist making a statement, huh?
I was just this is just an exquisitely beautiful film. The best point of view camera work I've seen in years, and so I was really amazed with it.
You know, the thing about Enter the Void is you don't even want to talk about what it's about. Even, you know...
Well, I think it can be quickly summed up in that it takes place in Tokyo, and it takes place, as far as I've seen the movie, over the course of one evening. But there are flashbacks that really broaden the whole, you know, scale of the film. And it's about a brother and sister. The younger brother is a drug addict, or wannabe drug dealer, and he gets involved towards the beginning of the movie with some nefarious people. He enters the Void, which is a sort of a trendy club, a dark element type of trendy club in Tokyo, and something disturbing happens. It's neat, but disturbing.
It's shocking. It's visually stunning, but it's shocking too.
And what happens after this moment is
he truly enters the void.
Yeah, he does. He enters the void, and then you basically get to see how this relationship that he has with his sister and his friends and all these things play out after this event, and it is just. It's beautifully done, and I think it needs to be experienced much more than I could ever put it into words.
Yeah. You know, it's part of it I found tedious, part of it I found beautiful.
So it's 180 minutes now at the Brattle, so it's going to be a little more. I'm so curious as to what this could possibly be. I mean, like, I'm recording this right now, and all I want to do is go home and watch the screener.
And you haven't even, from what I understand, you haven't even gotten to the part where we find out what his sister does for a living and
I don't know
where she does it and everything else. So you're in for a treat.
I just think this is, like, from what I've seen so far, it's just so incredibly visually entertaining. And
so I think
Paz de la Huerta, just so beautiful.
She the woman?
Just
She the sister?
Exotic. She was like. Sarah, my girlfriend, was just saying, as she's watched this movie too and really looked forward to it, she said, she's the best part of Boardwalk Empire, and she's right. She's just, I don't know, she's like this luminosity about this film that's very inviting. It's hypnotic. It really is. The movie flows and floats in a really neat way.
It's at the Brattle for a week, and then it comes out on DVD on the 25th, I believe.
Yeah, in a month.
So, no, January 25th.
January, yeah.
So, I do think the next recording we'll just revisit it, because you're at a very interesting point of the movie, and I want to see how you react to the rest of it.
Yeah, and I want to get over to the Brattle, too, and see what that's all about.
Yeah.
I only found out about it the other day that, on the website, that Ned had got the 180-minute version of the film.
And I'm curious, because like I said, I got the DVD the other day, and it was the director's cut, and it was 160 minutes. So evidently whatever's at the Brattle is 20 minutes longer than the one I've already seen. So
we're going to revisit this. I could be horribly let down.
No, but you'll have stuff to talk about.
Cool.
All right, do you have a DVD pick?
Yeah, let's move on to the picks of the week. My pick of the week, I'm going with Machete. I keep calling it Machete because, do you have a friend, like, when they keep repeating a title of the movie, their pronunciation of the title works its way?
Who says Machete?
Jared.
Well, okay.
And apparently he spent a lot of time in South America and keeps correcting me on the correct pronunciation of machete. So, Machete. And then he even loaned me this other movie, Machete, that came out before Machete, another Mexican Spanish caper film. Anyway, beside the point. Machete, we've already reviewed it on the show, but what I wanted to watch this DVD for was that Robert Rodriguez did what he did with the Planet Terror DVD, which is the audience reaction track. Which gives it a certain ambiance, that just makes the movie
Is it an audio or a visual track?
audio.
All right, so
Everybody's screaming and yelling and laughing to all the crazy stuff that goes on screen. So, it's quickly enough. It just adds something to it. It adds a certain ambiance to it that makes it entertaining. You get the feeling of that first night preview audience at the Alamo Drafthouse, reacting to the film. So
it's a good movie. It's fun.
It is.
It's fun, and like I told you, I saw it, and I watched the extras on the regular DVD, not the Blu-ray, and it had scenes where Jessica Alba, who's the immigration cop in the movie,
I was surprised
she plays her own twin sister, and her twin sister's a drunken slut, and they have these shots of them that are just hilarious. Hilarious.
When you said that, I had said earlier, I was hoping it was the Avedon sisters. The two machine gun toting nurses who deserve a larger part in this movie or a film on their own.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I would like the sequel because at the end it says Machete kills and Machete kills again or whatever, or the two sequels. And Rodriguez, he made his money back the day this thing opened because it's shot on his movies are shot on such a small budget, that he can make Machete 2 and 3, as long as he's got
he's a movie making machine.
Yeah, he is. All right, my recommendation is a movie called The Lena Baker Story. Yeah, this is one no one's heard about this yet, but it's a great movie. It stars Tashina Arnold, who, remember that TV series Everybody Hates Chris? Based on she's been in a lot of urban TV shows, a lot of comedy. She's known for her comedy. This is a heavy drama about this woman. Lena Baker was the only woman ever put to death by electrocution in the state of Georgia. Huh. She killed. This is back in the days where slavery was not a distant memory for the South at the time, the early 1900s, I think, and she's told to or hired to take care of this white man played by Peter Coyote, and he's abusive. They're both drunks. They get in this really sadistic, emotionally depraved relationship, and one night it goes too far and she kills him in self-defense. Well, a black woman in Georgia at this time really can't plead self-defense to killing a white man, so she's sentenced to death and ends up going to the electric chair. And, this is a woman I know from comedies, like Martin, Jamie Foxx. She's in that kind of, TV comedy scene. And she gives this fantastic performance. And Peter Coyote is just one nasty motherfucker in this movie. So I had no idea what it was. I actually interviewed Tashina Arnold after I saw it. I was like, I want to talk to this woman. I did an interview for her that's going to be in Color Magazine in February.
Wow. I'm intrigued.
I'll pass it on. It's very, very well done, well made. And her performance is stunning. So I would highly recommend the Lena Baker story.
Cool. So I think we're done.
Yeah, Lena Baker. Yeah, we're done.
We've covered everything. So that wraps it up for this week. Check us out online at post-movie.net, and we're also on Facebook and iTunes. Of course, all of our shows are on iTunes, and of course, if you can leave us a review, a positive review, we'd be most appreciative. I haven't even checked to see what's up there, so hopefully something will change there. That would be great. And if I could leave you with any last reminder, it would be to go see Enter the Void at the Brattle this week. It's from today's the 14th, so it's playing Friday the 14th from then on next week. And do definitely go see it. And if you have any questions, send us an email. We're postmoviepodcast@gmail.com. We'd love to hear from you. So until next week, I'm Steve Head.
I'm John Black.
So long.